Hello everyone, this is Inayat Mir back with a dynamic host configuration protocol lab. In this lab you will learn about basic operation of DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol. We will do installation and we also do some reservations and we will create a scope. So you will see the scenarios as you see on the screen and I will continue. So I had this lab recorded before with other environment and promised to have this voice over. So now I'm gonna go over again on this lab and step by step I will explain how this lab works. First you are looking at the scenario, and in this scenario you are looking at what we are going to perform. Anytime you can go ahead and stop the video or pause the video and watch what is going on. This is a list of my servers what you are looking at right now, and we are going to use SVR1, DC1 and my reverted server. So you will see as we go. The way I log in is to go into commands on the top right side and you can use your standard procedure. Then you can use the password given to you on the right side of the screen. This is a member server what you are looking at right now, and as a standard procedure you will see how we install roles and features. At the bottom of this screen you see all steps are given to you, but I can offer PDF steps if you want to use a PDF step and you can follow along if you have your own virtual environment. So currently I am installing a dynamic host configuration protocol role. So from the server manager we are going to install this role and associated features with this role. So at several time I will pause the video just to save some watching time, so you don't have to watch every single thing. So I'm going to install, very first thing is a DHCP role, then I will activate DHCP server. So here I am going to install. Installation is done. As you see that it was paused, and in reality it would take a little more time than you just saw. Now we are done on LON-SVR1 installing a server, a DHCP server role, our dynamic host configuration protocol service now running on this server. So as you can see we can use multiple environment right from here. Just I am showing you here now DHCP server service now is running. By default every server or every client has a DHCP client running only, but once you install server will also be running. So now we see the server name LON-SVR1. IPv4 is showing you a red drop down arrow because our server is not authorized. Once you authorize you have to refresh. Now this IPv4 icon turned into a green box or a white check box with a green background. So now the first thing was done. We had installed a role, and now you can see at the bottom all of the steps are given to you. The next step is to create a new scope. You can give this scope any name, but for the lab purposes we will follow lab steps, but you always can customize it. So we will name it branch office. Now you click on next, and this is a IP pool, the number of IPs from a starting range and ending range, where you can decide how many IPs you can provide to your clients who are going to get IP address from your DHCP server. So currently we are using class B IP address with 100 available IPs. Excluding is separate. So now we are going to exclude about 10 addresses. So from 100 you will be able to provide about 90 addresses to the client computers, but we will use only one client computer to obtain IP address automatically, and also we will demo a reservation from the DHCP server to our client. So here we are going to set up exclusion from 172.16.0.1902 to 200. So we are going to spare these 10 IP addresses in case if we are using a print server, a separate file server, or some other servers, and with a static IP address, we don't want to have a conflict. At this time here I left as it is lease duration by default, which is 8 days. In production environment you should keep this couple of hours or maybe 1 day, it all depends. Now we are going to look for a default gateway router's IP address 172.16.0.1. we will leave wins as it is, and always keep in mind default gateway is supposed to be a first available IP address, and if you want to activate scope you can activate now. If you don't want to, you leave it as it is, and we can activate by right clicking on the scope. Now we have this IP pool available 100 to 200, and we have exclusion 190 to 200, like 10 IP addresses. So we have done so far installation of DHCP server, and we have now a address scheme here, address pool, and lease duration and exclusion. Just showing you that from here you can configure, you can delete exclusions, you can maintain the DHCP server IP pool or exclusions. Now we need a client who should be obtaining IP address automatically. Currently we have configured all servers and client computers statically, and we have to go and change that status back to dynamically on our CL1. LON-CL1 is a client computer which is a member of LON-DC1 server, which is a domain, and our domain name is a datum.com. Now we can look at our network card properties. Either way you can go and check the properties of your network adapter card. So you can use N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, C as in Charlie, A as in Apple, dot C as in Charlie, P as in Paul, L as in Larry, NCPA.CPL. Hit enter and you will exactly see what you are looking at right now, Ethernet icon. So this could be local area network or whatever you see here. You will see you right click on this network card icon, go to properties and choose TCP IPv4 and go to properties, and then you will see here we have here static IP address. For this lab purposes we are going to change this to dynamic. Obtain IP address dynamically, and also if you have option number 006 configured in DHCP scope or server options, you can choose DNS statically dynamically as well. Option number 003 will provide you a default gateway, and option number 15 will give you a domain name or string values of your domain, which is a datum.com. So now we have actually obtained or requested to obtain IP address automatically. You can now renew or release or refresh to see that what IP you have. One of the IPs you are definitely now getting from our DHCP server, and we can confirm by going back into the server or by looking at this screen. So we are obtaining this IP from a DHCP server, which you can verify through ipconfig space /all. And currently, yes, of course, we are seeing this IP 172.16.0.100, and that is coming from the server which we just installed a DHCP role. So this is a server IP is 172.16.0.11, which is a LON-SVR1, where we actually while ago installed a DHCP server role. So now we can go and verify this also from server. Server will tell you that where we assigned this lease. So from the lease or from provided IP address to the client, we can see that one, but currently you are looking at client computer. If you want to reserve it, you can also go into your MAC address or network or physical address of the computer of the network card. What I'm highlighting right now is a MAC address. What I'm gonna copy this actually into my domain controller's root drive just as a safe side, and we can paste it back when we reserve the IP. So currently you can see the IP pool IP lease, and that is the IP we provided into the client computer. So our client got this IP address. We are going to provide a different IP to our client now for reservation. So we will also show you how this all worked, but assume that we have MAC address of LON-CL1 available somewhere in any location at the network, or we can write it down, or we can have it on a notepad, so whenever we need it we can come back and get it. So currently I am going to reserve IP 172.16.0.155. so here we need a physical address which I stored under my domain controller's root drive, which is LON-DC1, and I will go \C $, and copy from this notepad which I did offline just to save few seconds, and I can go back into my DHCP server's properties. Under MAC address I can paste and click on add. So now this client, whenever renews and releases the IP address, will get definitely IP, but we are showing here 172.16.0.155. So up to here we are good. We are going back to the client machine LON-CL1, and we are going to look for what IP we have. Right now, once we release and renew, you're supposed to get whatever was reserved in our DHCP server, and that is the one we got, 0155. So far we are successful to obtain IP address what is reserved. Now whenever this client actually gets the IP, as long as we have a reservation available, we will get the same IP whatever we reserved for this client. And if you want to reserve this client's IP while this is a dynamic already, you also can go to DHCP server and right click on the client and reserve this IP address. You can do alternate way from the DHCP server, but we don't have to do that. We are doing this all basic stuff at this moment to look at the environment. So now what we want to do here, we will shut down this LON-CL1 and then we assume that this is reverted. Then we will shut down also LON-SVR1 and we will assume that this is reverted. So we will come back to LON-SVR1-reverted PC all the way down at the bottom, which I can point to my second mouse right over here, this one here. So you can see that this will act as a LON-SVR1, and LON-SVR1 on the top right side I will keep it off. In a second you will see it will disappear. This will not be here on as well as we move on. And as a client we will use LON-CL2 as a client to obtain IP dynamically from the DHCP server. So let's keep moving on. Look at the scenario. Implementing DHCP relay agent. This is an optional exercise, but I would like to show you how this all works. And keep an eye on the scenario. You can pause anytime and you can play anytime this video and read the scenario and read what is important and what we are going to perform. And also I am having these commands under my separate tab where you can see that each command you can type and hit enter, and you will see it will explain itself what is going to be done with these commands. First, you are going to add a feature, DHCP on LON-SVR1 reverted. So you are on LON-SVR1 reverted, which is a different server, but we kept the LON-SVR1 powered off. That is now basically reverted. This is a new server, but we are going to install this feature, what we just did it actually, DHCP role, through the PowerShell with minus include management tools. So that is second command we are running, net sh DHCP add security groups. Then we will start DHCP server service. So this is all self-explanatory. So you can see how I am typing these all commands, and you also can see this command at the bottom left side in this gray box with a white writing, and same thing I am also typing on the screen. Now you are using a DHCP server v4 scope. Now you have to provide a scope range. So this is as good as is the GUI. So now, because we have done GUI way first on LON-SVR1, now we are on LON-SVR1 again, which is basically named reverted, but the host name is same. Now we have to do this all, or we are doing this all manually through the PowerShell, not through the GUI way. So we can use these both methods to install DHCP server on our server operating system. Yeah, I took a little bit close, zooming in, so in this way you can see little better. So we have again same thing the way we did in our GUI way before. We had a starting range and ending range, and we have again another starting and ending range with 10, 10, 0, 100 to 10, 10, 0, 200. And same thing, you are going to have some exclusion about 10 addresses from here as well. So just make sure you do not do any typo, you do not do any comma mistake, any space mistake, because this PowerShell is a kind of a sensitive. But as a follow along, you can do this practice. And also once this screen is done, if you like to, or if you would like to take a screenshot of these all commands, there you can. And as I offered earlier, that I can provide you a PDF lab or PDF steps if required. Otherwise you simply can follow these steps, follow along, and you should be good. The same way we installed DHCP previously on LON-SVR1, we are using the same method to install the DHCP server here on reverted computer, which is actually a same computer name but a different host, different computer with the same host name, same functionality. So we are doing the same thing, but we are doing through the PowerShell. So in this way you know the basics of GUI and you know the basics of PowerShell. So this is a exclusion. So you have to use this add-dhcp server v for exclusion range. So that is the same we had before. We excluded 10 IP addresses before. We are excluding 10 IP addresses now from this PowerShell command. Just want to make sure that the typing was correct. And if there's an error, yes, you will see it. It will come back with a red writing. So far, so good. Everything is doing good. Now you have to set a default gateway. Whichever IP scheme you are using, we supposed to use very first available IP address as a default gateway. And then once we do this one, once a client gets the IP address from the DHCP server, you always can go back to DHCP server and you will see that which client is actually under our scope and getting IP or getting lease from our DHCP server. So that is very simplified, very easy. So in other words, these commands also self-explanatory. So these commands are telling you exactly what we are doing or what action we are performing. So this is your option number 003 through GUI way. If you go through GUI, you will set this option number 003 for your default gateway. As I said before, for DNS we use option number 006, and for a domain string value you will use option number 01515. Since we do not use a Wins server, but in case if you want to, so you can use option number 44 or 044 if you have some legacy clients in the environment, which we should not have, since we have a 2008 R2 and 2012 R2, and now we have a 2016 operating system. So we definitely will eliminate Wins server and we will depend on DNS. Now we have activated the scope. In the GUI method, you can go into the DHCP server on desired scope. You right click and activate. Through the PowerShell, you can use set DHCP server v4 scope, and then you have to add a scope ID and you have to add a scope state with a minus switch, minus state active, so it will make your scope active. Now just take a look on the commands which we went through. These are very important, I would say, and very useful commands. And for in order to use a batch operation, a VB script, you can use these all commands actually, and you can use actually for automation purposes as well. So far we went through this all, and our server is ready, and we are going into a second client. So we are logging in first time to this client, which is LON-CL2, and now we're gonna verify that if we can obtain IP address from LON-SVR1, which was acting as a reverted computer because we had two SVR1. If you look at the second from the top under machines, originally LON-SVR1 is reverted or powered off. Now from the client computer, which is CL2, we are going to obtain IP address automatically, and if we get this IP from the DHCP server, so we are good to go. So that was the purpose of this all lab, that to create a scope through the PowerShell or add DHCP server roll through the PowerShell and use it. Now I'm on the client computer, so now I set up opt-in IP automatically. Now once you renew, as you can see right on the top, it is coming from, or IP was coming from our server, and server is also giving us lease to the client and give you the date, and you refresh this lease actually if this is not the one you intended to anyways, but this is a branch to we made it. So far I believe we did a complete operation, or the way we want it to do actually. So we have a 172.16.0.51 on one network card and 0100 on the second network card, and we use only one network card actually for dynamic IP address. And so far this operation was succeeded, and I would be happy to have you in my next video, which is about DNS, dynamic domain name system. This was DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol, and also exam 70-210 is a target exam if you practice on this lab. So thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you in my next video. This is Inayat.